What? Bang!
Whoa! Wrestling Podcast. Just when they think they got the answers, I change the question.
Rep screwed rep.
Yeah!
Woo!
Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Because this guy's a serious professional.
Can he do it? Unbelievable!
Too hot to handle and too cold to hold. And I am Macho King Savage.
Shut your mouth, you thong-wearing fatty. I said WWE stands for...
It's me, Austin! I will never retire!
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. Are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling game? Stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users, totally free. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shout-outs like my good buddy John down in Texas and Emily, then you got to give us a shout-out over at the Pro Wrestling Podcast Patreon page, patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast. Sign up today. Loyalty rewards are available. $15 a month contributor. You get to host a show with me. $7.50. Enter into a drawing to do the same. And hopefully we get you some Patreon exclusive content from some of those bigger contributors. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. If you've got questions, comments, something you want us to touch on in the future episode, the only way I'm going to know that is if you give me a shout over at the Pro Wrestling Sound Off line, 267-642-1160, and we will get to those in a future episode. So tonight, it is WrestleMania season. WrestleMania is here, night one. This episode is part one of a two-part series with my predictions for WrestleMania. We are going to kick things off right away. Opening night. And look, we're not going to go in the order that we think the matches are going to come out on the show. That would be kind of insane, even trying to predict that at this point. We're going to go in the order that, let's see, we'll use Wikipedia. Well, why don't we use that? We'll use Wikipedia and see what match order they have, and we'll go down through it that way. Match number one, The Vision, Logan Paul and Austin Theory teaming with IShowSpeed, along with Paul Heyman, taking on the Usos, Jimmy and Jay, as well as LA Knight. Now, look, here's the thing. When it comes to celebrity involvement, typically in a WWE match, you're expecting the celebrity to go over. The thing with Jelly Roll last SummerSlam was a little bit of an anomaly, but that was because he wanted to lose that match. So when you look at this situation, I look at IShowSpeed, especially coming out of what he did at the Royal Rumble a couple years ago with when you're looking at what he did with Braun Breaker, I look at IShowSpeed being in the match to take the fall. That would be the easy prediction. However, I think there's something to the Jey Uso character shift that we saw the day that he was shouting at Roman Reigns about going after CM Punk. He seemed more serious, much more of a critical character in a storyline than just a side player as a tag team wrestler. And I get it. He was a main event wrestler for a year, won the world championship and all that. I just feel like they have to take the loss here to give Jay the motivation to push through to get to that next level of what eventually will, I believe, become a heel turn. I think that something happens in this match where it looks like IShowSpeed is taking the fall, and it ends up being LA Knight who takes the fall. Now, I don't want that as a fan because I want LA Knight in a more prominent position, but I think that's what they're going to do so they can protect IShowSpeed so that every time he shows up in WWE programming, you don't automatically think the guy's going to get squashed. I think this will be a situation where IShowSpeed looks like he's going to lose, LA Knight takes the fall, and The Vision and IShowSpeed are going to come out with the winners. That is our official prediction for that match. For match two, Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre. I mean, look, I think they've done a great job of heating this match up. They've had constant conflict back and forth. SmackDown has been like these two's playground for brutalizing each other, especially McIntyre attacking Jacob Fatu. I love everything they've done here. Now, if I got to pick a winner, I think that Jacob Fatu is at that point where he has to get some major win at some point other than that brief United States Championship run. He really hasn't done enough to be featured as what they were calling him a year ago, a future WWE WrestleMania main eventer. If you want him to be a main eventer, he's got to pick up some big wins. At the same time, Drew McIntyre debatably the best performer in the company right now over the last several years, starting with that CM Punk feud and continuing onward, where he's able to do anything they ask him to do. And I feel like he just had that short championship run, but it wasn't long enough. Do you give him one here to make up for having to give up the championship so quickly? I'm not sure. This is a really difficult one to call. And look, I'm not even going to look up the Vegas odds for this because I don't want to see what Vegas has to say, because a lot of times that's a spoiler anyways. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go with my gut. Even though I don't necessarily think it's the right move because I think he has more time in the business than the other, I'm going to go with Jacob Fatu picks up the win to start that push towards the main event that he is projected to someday be. I think there's real money in a Jacob Fatu Braun Breaker program further down the line as a WrestleMania main event, and you got to start doing things like this to be able to get him to that level. In the Women's World Championship match, Stephanie Vaquer defending against Liv Morgan. And I hate to say this because I think Vaquer is an incredible talent. I think she's done everything you could possibly ask a champion to do over the last however many days she's had that championship belt, close to a year at this point. But at the same time, it still feels like she's a transitional champion. Like they didn't really seem to sink their teeth into what she could do and push her the way you would think they would push a world champion. And maybe part of that is a good chunk of the year she was kind of in the shadow in a lot of ways of Rhea Ripley, who's a much bigger star, in the shadow of some of the other female talents who just have a better stage presence. Maybe it's a language thing, something, I don't know. But I think this is the right time to change the championship. I think Liv Morgan, the prediction is Liv Morgan walks out of WrestleMania as the new Women's World Champion. For the Women's Intercontinental Championship, AJ Lee taking on Becky Lynch. And this is going to be spoilers for a future match, but it's necessary so that we understand where I'm going with this. I think that AJ Lee coming back was a wonderful thing, but I don't think she's been used enough or as effectively as some people would like her to have been used. The Becky Lynch stuff is great, but we need to move past that at this point. So AJ Lee being the Intercontinental Champion makes a lot of sense. I do think Becky Lynch would do well to win that championship back. However, I also think Becky Lynch needs to be in the Women's World Championship picture. I would love to see her and Rhea go down. I'd love to see her and people like Jade Cargill get into it. So we have to wait and see how that's going to pan out over time. But you got, again, almost like a Jacob Fatu thing, you have to start pushing Becky Lynch again. AJ Lee, you could put her into the World Championship scene, but she doesn't really need that at this stage of her career. But what I think is very valuable, and based on the news and the reporting on our show yesterday, with the impending return of Paige, a.k.a. Saraya from AEW, coming back to WWE, word is she signed a contract, she's at Mania, going through rehearsals. I think the initial conversation was that she is replacing Nikki Bella in the Fatal 4-Way for the Women's Tag Team Championship. However, Nikki Bella has vehemently refuted that claim, saying she is medically cleared, she will be at Mania, she will be in the match, and I can't honestly see how you would book something with Brie Bella and Paige anyways. They don't have a history of being friendly with one another on camera. Why would she come to her aid? She has nothing to do with her, whereas it's very different when it comes to AJ Lee. There is a ton of history there. Could Paige come out during the AJ Lee Becky Lynch match and cost one of them the championship? Now, does she cost Becky Lynch because she's helping her friend AJ Lee? Very easily could, certainly if Becky does something shady, which, let's be honest, she's not above doing. And that opens the doorway to Paige versus Becky Lynch, something we probably would love to see in 2026. However, there's also a possibility she can come out and everybody pops and goes crazy and she's there to help AJ Lee and instead turns on AJ Lee and helps Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch playing the character who's always a step ahead, smarter, sleuthier. So that could be a way to play it up. And then that leads back into like a throwback to AJ Lee versus Paige from way back in the day, which I also don't think anybody would have a problem with. So who do I pick in this? Who do I go with? I'm going with Becky Lynch winning the Women's Intercontinental Championship, even though I would not do that because I think she needs to be in the world title picture. But I'm going to go with her winning. However, I don't think Paige is going to turn on AJ Lee. I think they would be far more formidable. And I think, especially when you have people like the Bellas out there, how great would it be to have AJ Lee and Paige versus the Bellas eventually in a Women's Tag Team Championship match? How cool would that be? And here's why I say that, because after I'm picking Becky Lynch to win the Intercontinental Championship, I'm predicting that Nikki and Brie Bella will perform together and that Nikki and Brie Bella will win the Women's Tag Team Championship, the belts that were essentially created for them that they never got. This is the time to give it to them, and at SummerSlam, after losing the Intercontinental Championship, I'd love to see them defend against AJ Lee and Paige. How amazing would that be? So that's my prediction. I'm going in the Irresistible Forces versus Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss versus Bayley and Lyra Valkyria versus the Bella Twins. My prediction for the Women's Women's Tag Team Championship is that Nikki and Brie Bella walk out as the new champions. Next match is Seth Rollins versus Gunther. This one, I love the pairing for what the storyline's been saying for the last several months, but I understand why we're doing it with all the injuries and things of that nature. So it's going to be hard-hitting. It's going to be an incredible match. Where do you go from here? Where does Gunther go? I think Gunther, the teasing he did with Paul Heyman when he attacked Seth Rollins is to lead up to a match with Brock. I think Seth Rollins needs to stay strong to have his feud with Braun Breaker. But that's kind of cooled a little bit because Breaker has been out with injury and he's been messing with the other members of the division. So follow me on this. I believe that Gunther wins, but not clean. Gunther's going to win because Braun Breaker is going to return and attack Seth Rollins to reheat up that feud because he's been gone for so long. It will hurt Rollins less than it would hurt Gunther heading into a match at SummerSlam with Brock. So my prediction is Gunther defeats Seth Rollins. And in the main event of Night 1, Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton with Pat McAfee for the WWE Undisputed Championship. If Randy Orton loses, Pat McAfee will leave the professional wrestling industry permanently. And here's the deal. We already know that's not the plan. At least that's what the rumor is. The rumor is it's going to be Cody Rhodes and Jelly Roll versus Randy Orton and Pat McAfee at the next pay-per-view Backlash. So if that's the case, then Randy Orton has to walk out of here with the championship. But does that make a lot of sense when Cody just got the belt back? Well, it does if you're Ari Emanuel and you're trying to, maximize profitability of ticket sales and you want to have the tag team match and have these celebrities involved because he thinks that's the way to get the best ratings. So I'm going to go with Ari Emanuel because he seems to get his way all the time lately. So I'm going with Randy Orton to defeat Cody Rhodes and become a 15-time WWE Heavyweight Champion, closing out Night 1 of WrestleMania. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode where we run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks as always to Suno for creating the music and sound effects we use in our show. Today's show is sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bring a new friend to family game night. It's easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game from Beazle Games by going to thegamecrafter.com and picking up your copy today. Are you looking for your next career move? Maybe you're considering college or university life. Maybe you just need some formal training for your next career decision. Go to our website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Dr. Fro. I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today. Look forward to episode 2 where we run down Night 2 of WrestleMania. Until then, take care, everybody. Have a great night.
Wrestling Podcast.